from Brussels.
Live from
Malaga.
Malaga.
That is live. Yeah, that's right. And I'm here with Sebastián Rodríguez, and I'm very honored to have you with us because, of course, a very famous person in the bubble, recommended only last week by Connor Allen, who said that he watches your show a lot. And so we wanted to get to know you a little bit better. Of course, a background with Renew Europe, the Parliament, a very interesting background how it all started. Of course, now you work with the European movement, but also you started your own European playbook. So we want to know everything about you and what makes you special, why you do this playbook. But first, tell us a little bit about how you started, because that's quite an interesting story. Good to have you with us today, with me.
Thank you so much, and big shout out to you guys because you are giving visibility to a lot of communicators in Brussels and outside of Brussels, and I think this is partly related with what I wanted to say today, and this need for communicators to exchange best practices and support each other, because in the end, this is what we're here for. So. Great work for the whole team. A little bit about me. Well, I am not as I don't have the typical profile that you would find in Brussels, and I try to make a strength out of it. I started doing something completely different. At the moment, I am a campaign strategist. I work for the European Movement International, which is basically the Brussels-based civil society organization that represents the biggest pan-European associations, from employers, trade unions, even the European Association of Dentists are members of ours. So we represent all those people and we try to be their voice here in Brussels. But I've not always been a campaign strategist, a campaign expert. I started in a completely different space. I started in investment banking in London. And back then I was specialized in technology applied for investment banking. So everything that we will probably talk about today, AI, automation, all those trends, they already took place probably around a decade ago in the investment banking industry. And I was like part of that, and it was great. I did my hours. But at some point, I started to volunteer with political parties, with the Liberal Democrats back then. And I started to feel, as a person who had been working for 3-4 years, that I needed to change, that I was spending a couple of hours a week doing volunteering with a political party, and that was bringing me immense joy. But then my 60, 70 hours a week job was making me, to be honest, a little bit miserable. So I decided to, following Brexit, I decided that it was enough, that I wanted to spend my energy and put my skills and spend my time to a bigger cause. And that cause for me is to help pro-Europeans succeed, so that there are no more Brexits, please, no more Brexit, but also that pro-European communicators, they get better at communicating how great the European project and how important the European project is. So I started working with the biggest tech vendors in the political space. So I kept the technology part of what I was doing, but I tried to do it in the field that I was passionate about, politics. That brought me, I work with the biggest pro-European organizations. That brought me to Brussels to be part of a very big team in the European Parliament, the team that ran the 2019 European elections campaign. This time I'm voting. Then joined Parliament for 2.5 years with a political group. And now I am in the best place that I've ever been, which is the European Movement International. Hello to the team, Petros, Chris, Maya, Barbara, the rest of the team. It's great. It's the best thing that I do. I'm super happy with them right now.
So you would encourage everyone to follow their heart and not stay in a job, even if it pays well, if it doesn't make you happy and it makes it feel just like a chore.
I don't want to issue that recommendation because I am not afraid of taking huge risk, but that's who I am. I want to. Now I have two. I have two children, a daughter and a son. and all I think about is, what type of world we're gonna leave to the future generations, and I want to look them in the eye and say, okay, I try to do my part. No, so for me, I am very like purpose driven, very passionate. That's not how everyone should be. Okay, that's not how everyone should behave. But I think if your job makes you a better person and makes you happy, then that's a big plus, because we spend a lot of time working.
Yeah, and talking about purpose-driven jobs, if you're wondering, viewers, where Phil is today, he is at an event with ESNO specialist nurses. Now, talking about an important job with people who really do what they care about and what's important. Of course, it's the nurse community. So, ESNO, one of our clients, has an event for International Nurses Day today. And they've also launched a website, this Nurses Poll, that was just on screen, where nurses can voice their opinions in a variety of surveys that we've launched for them. And so our account manager, Gabby, and Phil are at this event with Bear, our clients, and the other clients as well. So that's why Phil is not with us today, but we're very happy that he's with the nurses, such an important group that we're happy, of course, delighted to work with. So over to the playbook, the campaign playbook. Tell us everything about this. Why are you doing this? What is it? And why did you start it?
Yes. It's connected to what I just explained. I am not a communications by training. I am not a communicator by training. I think I learned the trade by doing. And I was always looking for ways to learn best practices, to learn new skills. And so this community was a little bit part of that, because that was like what I did to be able to learn and to be able to meet other people. And also, I wanted to make it bigger, like you guys here are doing. I wanted to, not only that it is helpful for me, but for everyone, no, who is in Brussels. And I was always like thinking, I had always this idea during the Brexit referendum, going back quickly to that time. So please stay with me a sec. But during back then, when I was living in London, I realized that the anti-Europeans, even though they could disagree on almost anything, they were very coordinated. They were using the best technology, targeting, CRM systems. They would coordinate messages, even though they wouldn't agree on a single item. However, the pro-Europeans, even though they were under the same camp, that community, that sense of coordination didn't exist. And I thought, maybe, just maybe, if there had been a community, like a place for people to connect and to exchange those best practices, maybe, just maybe, the result would have been the other way around. It would have been 51% to stay, 49% to leave. So with that in mind, I've always wanted to create that space with that vision in mind. And that started during the big pandemic, when a group of us decided to meet regularly to exchange best practices, tips on how to communicate a pandemic, which none of us knew how to. And then it kept growing. More people kept coming. At some point, Zoom calls were unmanageable. I know that you guys have felt the same. Then we started broadcasting, like you guys are doing right now. And the community kept growing. We launched like a mentorship program because the people in the community asked for it. And now we are thinking about how we're going to make it even bigger, but more sustainable, because now it's taking too much time of my day. And at the end of the day, what pays the bills is my work with the European movement. So now we are introducing a new platform and a new membership program, so that we can have a team dedicated to running it, paying the licenses for StreamYard and for all these things that we all use. But keep doing this, keep providing our members with tailored training and with networking. And always with this idea that we do this because we share something in common, which is we believe the European project is worth fighting for. And so it's really good crowd, and I encourage everyone to join us and be part of the community.
And are you implementing everything that you've learned for the 2024 elections? Is that going to be very different than around Brexit? Is it all going to be implemented? Are we going to see the changes?
Indeed. Well, we are here working in full motion. We already have published our own playbook on what we would like to see from European institutions, but also other actors ahead of the European elections. And we are bringing the community together. We have a dedicated group called Eyes on 2024, and we have the director of communications of the biggest political parties. We have NGOs, we have institutions. We had a great session with Philip Schulzmeister, the director for campaigns, recently. So we want to be the space where communicators get better, and hopefully we can make a difference for the European elections in 2024, which are gonna be key, are gonna be very challenging. I remember when I joined the big team in the European Parliament in 2019, we had like this downward trend in participation in European elections, and there was this idea with Brexit there could be like a even biggest disaffection about the European project, and we had like this idea to turn this, by turning it around and increase participation, that being a first step towards a stronger, like a more vibrant a European project closer to citizens. Now it's different. Now the situation has changed. I think AI is going to change everything in the last 1 month. I think nothing that we even the playbook will grow. Like, I think, forget about that. I think a lot of things are changing. The situation in Ukraine is going to define the elections. And every election is different. So I think we are ready, but also we need to be able to adapt.
So with that, you mean that AI and Ukraine are going to be the top topics of the election, or people are going to be the participatory rate is not going to be as big an issue, or what do you mean concretely?
Well, I think that with AI, I think we are just a few months away from the first election campaign that has been, in which AI has been determinant and not in an ethical way. I think we're just a few months away from that moment. Not even the European elections are on the probably May, June next year. I think before that, we're going to see the impact of AI. So that's going to change a lot about the trust, right? The issue of trust. I mean, do we trust what we see? Do we trust the messages? Are they even real? Are the videos that we're seeing, are they even real? And so that's going to come misinformation and disinformation. I think it's going to be a huge challenge. I think European institutions will need to tackle that very seriously with dedicated efforts to counteract very advanced and very sophisticated misinformation about things like, for example, spreading the wrong date for the elections. Like all those kind of things. Now we have, unfortunately, because it has been unleashed and it has been deployed to the public, now there is a lot of tools that can be used in non-ethical ways and by malicious actors. And I think that's gonna be an issue of trust. Do we trust our elections? Do we trust the process? I think that's one. And the second one is, do we value democracy? I mean, when there are people literally fighting and dying for democracy in Ukraine, do we Europeans actually appreciate what is the importance of having a democratic system in an era where democracy, support for democracy, or at least consistent support for democracy, is in decline? I think this is the context of the election, and anyone who is willing to run for office, run for MEP, or promote active participation has to address those challenges. Otherwise, if we keep repeating, we keep just explaining what the European Parliament does and what the European Commission does and how this is already something that it won't cut it. I think we need to, and the European Parliament is doing it, I think we need to go one step higher and actually defend why it is important that we have this democracy these freedoms that we have, what they mean for people, and then knowing that in front of us there will be a group of political parties and individuals and organizations that they have a different model for our society, maybe a model where there is a figure of a strong leader that can take decisions without so many obstacles that democracy puts in the way of elected leaders. And I think this is the frame. I think this will be the right framework for many pro-Europeans to campaign on. And yeah, and we can talk about more of that. But I think this is what's different in 2024.
Yeah, clear. We need a very strong campaign. In fact, not with much stronger topics, which are not just about roaming, but about the real topics. A little bit like Metsola is doing. When you think on her personal channels, where she's really touching on those real topics that make Europe important. Do you follow her, for example, on Instagram, on LinkedIn? Do you feel that she's touching on those topics in a way that could make a difference if we would do this on a larger scale?
Metsola is an excellent communicator. I'm so happy that she had big shoes to fill, and I think she's outdone it. I think we need more leaders like her. I also without like being political, right? Because we can get political, but I think as an image of the institution, I think the symbolism that she understands that her position is political, because that's the thing about Brussels, right? People think that Brussels is technical, and that's a huge that might have worked in the last 40 years, but now everything we decide in Brussels is political, and if you are not able to embody that, then you don't understand what we are talking about. And then her move to go to Ukraine, like to be seen there, for me, this did the whole job for her. Like she can, I know she will continue active, but for me, this is all a public leader should do. And she understood that her role is not procedural, that her role is not to host the bureau and hear the president of the groups. Her role is political, it's institutional, but it's political. And I think she embodies that, and we need to see more people occupying public positions and embodying that political work. And it's tricky. Yeah, I've worked with MEPs, and it's really tricky. Media attention is not always great. And then you are often found in, internal political, ideological struggles. So to rise above all that and to represent the values of an institution is not easy. So kudos to the comms team at Metsola's office.
Absolutely. And even on national level, it's covered really well, and she gets positive press attention. So I think that's kudos to them indeed. You spoke about AI a little bit, and mostly in a fearful type of way. When you talk about trends in communication, maybe not so much in terms of the election, but more in terms of communication, could you say a little more about AI and some of the other things you're seeing and how this is impacting the elections, maybe communication in European communication in general?
Yes, I've come across as a bit. I have my days. Sometimes I wake up and I say, AI is gonna be great, and some other days I am a bit more fearful. I think it's both. I use it every day. I think ChatGPT, it's great, but not only ChatGPT. There are so many. Now, the people who work with me, they know this, that I have like an AI virtual assistant that goes with me to the meetings and take notes for me, which I think is great. And I think the AI and technology and automation, when I used to do those in investment banking, it's a way for us to be more efficient. It's a way to free us humans of manual and routine work. And I think that's great. Those applications are great. I also think that they can be used in an unethical way. And it has to be regulated in the same way that we regulate nuclear energy, for example. Nuclear energy can be used for lighting up the rooms in your flat. But in the wrong hands and without the supervision, it is a danger? No, is it a risk for humanity? Right. So I think the AI, what we don't understand about AI, we get very excited, very hyped about these things. It was the same with decentralized finance, and also for the people who probably like crypto. Everyone thought central banks, they are not going to be able to operate anymore. Everything is going to be decentralized. And they made a point. I remember those days. I, Today is different because I didn't see my father, who is 60 years old. He didn't go to university. He wasn't educated, and he's like a average Joe Smith in Spain. I didn't see my father using crypto, but I'm seeing my father using ChatGPT to plan the weekend. So, I mean, the democratization of AI and the accessibility and the user friendliness of AI is what makes it very different to other technological breakthroughs like decentralized finance, Bitcoin, crypto, etc. I think what I would like to see doing is that in the context of communications, that there are best practices, that people adhere to best practices, and that we try to establish regulations to make sure that we don't do things that we shouldn't be doing with this very powerful technology. And that's about it, because I am learning every day. I know definitely there are people out there who know more about this than I do. But as a user, I would like to see that. And what broke decentralized finance and crypto, like Bitcoin, it was exactly the lack of regulation. The lack of regulation led to a lack of trust, and a lot of people lost a lot of money, and a lot of things happened that should have happened. I think with AI, we need to do the same. We need to build trust on AI by regulating AI. And I think also that's what Vestager wants to do. I think Vestager is doing an absolutely really good work leading the conversation on how to regulate AI. And for political campaigns, I think now that we see we had the AI Act passed or discussed in last Strasbourg, and then we have the online political advertising regulation in the trialogue process, I would like to see common standards and some do's and don'ts for political campaigns.
Yes, Lena is saying she agrees 100%. She found it very interesting. By the way, hi, Daniel. Thank you for watching. And Justin, who lives in Madrid, says he's never been to Malaga, and he hopes that the weather is lovelier than in Madrid right now. And we just spoke about the fact that it isn't, and it's very humid and hot. And climate change is a fact, unfortunately. I was wondering, but I just quickly Googled it, and I see it's not the case. If Bard had been launched in Spain, but I think it's not, right? Are you excited about Bard? It seems Bard, the AI that Google has launched, and seems to be fantastic because, of course, it's connected to the internet. And I've seen some reviews. It seems to be quite excellent, but it's depriving the Netherlands, Belgium, I think it's in the UK. But not, so apparently it's good if you have Brexit for Google, but it's not in Spain yet, is it, Bard?
I'm still catching up with Bing. So they were the first one, and I think it's great. I'm pretty sure Google has done something phenomenal, and I'm also spending a lot of time with DALL-E. I created all these beautiful images. I am amazed by that. To be honest, we have actually one competition running where we are asking people to tell us like a short script for actually a course that we have on how to use ChatGPT for public affairs. And then people give us a short script, and then we generate the visual and even a video. And I think it's amazing. I mean, it's and now with the new one, with all the things that it's able to do to generate generative AI, it's like every week they are pushing the boundaries. So it's hard to keep up whilst having a 40 hours hours of work a week. it's hard to keep up, but I'll take a look. I'll take a look to the new Google tool.
Yeah, Justin says it's not been launched in Spain yet, but he's planning to host a prompt war between my Bard and ChatGPT accounts. So maybe he does have Bard. I'm not sure. So, but I just I don't think it has been launched. Okay, and one more question before we go to the recommendations. Do you have any tips for young communicators? People just starting in the communication field, are interested in campaigning communication. What should they do and maybe not do?
Yeah. Yes, yeah, for communicators, if you, and trying to link everything that we've said so far, if you're in Brussels, I think the first thing for communicators, for young communicators to do is to don't repeat what you see in your organization. Don't do things in the same way just because this is the way that they've been done. I think there are a lot of room in Brussels to innovate, a lot in every single, and even in those organizations that are innovating, and there are a few organizations that are doing it, and you guys are one of them, you can still find more room to innovate, and that this whole idea doesn't stop, because I think now we are seeing a moment if you are communicating your organization in Brussels, that you have to become really good at comms. Before it was always who has the best policy position, who has the nicest policy paper, and who had the best connections in the commission, in the parliament. And now this is changing. Now it's all about, for organizations to stand out, it's all about you being able to place yourself on the map, you being able to be seen as communicating very clearly, very innovating in the way you reach out to policymakers. And also, this is something extra that not everyone can do, but placing your organization very close to what citizens are thinking, because our institutions are becoming more political. Now, for the European election in 2024, if you are not talking about cost of living crisis, sustainability, or the war in Ukraine and security, then no one will be interested in actually listening to you, or like taking you, or jumping onto your platform. So I think all that requires new language, new tools, new mindsets. And so just keep, when you step into an office in Brussels and you see that we need to do this press release, and we need to do, then try to always challenge. And this way, they will actually respect you as a communicator as much as they respect a policy officer or a policy manager. Because when a policy manager comes, no one challenges what he or she does. When a communicator comes to the room with an idea, everyone has ideas. Everyone thinks that the language should be done this way, that the visual is not good enough. And so it seems that for communicators, everyone in the room has ideas. And I think I take that, own that, because when you communicate on behalf of everyone. But at the same time, do your work and then defend your work, and also build a sense of respect for the position of the communicator, because it's as important as the policy officer. But in Brussels, it's just we are trying to make our space. And we try to make our voice, our opinions heard. And more it's happening, but more work to do always.
Yes, it's so true. Everyone feels that they're a communicator, they should have opinions, and sometimes they question, is this a good idea? Should we use social media? Should we use website? Isn't it more effective to just have coffee? And then it's always good to bring facts to explain that you can measure success, and when you do it the old-fashioned way, but it's very easy to have KPIs when you do it the online way, and you can show, all the MEPs are on Twitter. This is how many that on LinkedIn, you know exactly who you're targeting. You can see the success, and so you can also come with facts. You can show results of campaigns that you've done before, and you can also do A/B testing. You say, you know what, you like this visual, I think this one works better. Let's just test it on the audience. Let's not have a discussion about it, because at the end of the day, it's not about what we like. It's about what the audience responds to. And that's also usually quite a good way to end the conversation.
And that leads me to think, like, I one of the things that I've witnessed is that a lot of we need a cultural change, I think. in Brussels. And part of the culture that we see in Brussels is this idea of win or lose moment, right? Because it's you have a legislation. If you don't do the things during the deadlines, then window is lost. A vote, like there are so many like win or lose moments in Brussels that everyone is like very stressed. Whereas communicators, young communicators, be like free yourselves up from that pressure. Like allow yourselves to test, to say, look, I am not sure if this is gonna work, but I'm gonna test it anyway. And if it doesn't work, then I take it. I take that as a learning. And I think this change that you see in startups, you see in the private sector, has yet to come to the institutions and some of the organizations in Brussels. So bring all that energy and good practice, and always try to improve yourself. It's not about the output, it's also about the journey, right? Like when you realize you have been 5-6 years in Brussels, which communicator do you want to be? The one publishing the press release and thinking everything is going to be all right, or the one testing new tools, knowing about what's going on? And I think you know the answer if you're watching this show. Which
Yes,
one
and if
you
you're a young communicator, try it yourself first. So don't recommend anything that you haven't tried. Try everything. Try it on yourself. Test it out, because I have a lot of people that say, "Oh yeah, I write tweets for my organization." Say, "Are you on Twitter?" Yeah, but I don't really use it. I mean, I don't think you can write tweets for others if you don't use Twitter yourself. Although ChatGPT might help right now, but you have to be on everything. Try everything out. Make that your first motto, to be the experimenter, to learn, to read, to try it out, and then to test it out for your organization. I think then you can really speak from experience. All right, I think it's time to go to the recommendations. Love that jingle. Sebastián, tell us, what would you like to recommend today?
Yes. So buy tickets for the Schumann Show. I am a big fan of humor. And I think these guys, they make an absolute, I mean, you will have a really good time. Also, I'm a big LinkedIn guy, and on LinkedIn, I always follow Brett Kobe. I think he's great. He's one of the greatest thinkers and a really cool guy. To also very approachable to know of, and a very good friend also, the Tom Moylan newsletter. Now he's taking some time off to focus more on researching and having like firsthand experiences, and now their newsletters, you would notice they are deeper and they have even more content than before. And I think I said before, I didn't say Schumann Show, I said Truman
Well,
Show.
you said perfectly fine. Sorry. No.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, Schumann Show, Tom Moylan's and Brett Kobe's. Those are my three top.
So sorry. Don't put it.
Sorry for making it difficult for the technical team.
That's absolutely fine. Everything's fine. There was a C missing in the caption. No worries. Go on. So Tom, I didn't know that. Tom is taking some time off to get deeper experiences, you were saying.
Oh, yeah. He's no longer at the commission, and he is focusing. He's focusing on actually doing more research. He has a few big projects in mind. I won't release them, but go check him out. He's always a good guy. And also, of course, please join our community, campaignplaybook.eu. Happy to have you on board. And yeah, the Schumann Show is the Truman Show. Yes, indeed, Daniel.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you. Yes. So yes, he was he was on our show, Tom, I think last year. And so he told us, he was quite modest. He didn't want to talk too much about his own newsletter, but we know it and we love it. And my own recommendation today is a show that I've been listening to quite a lot when I was driving back and forth to the Netherlands last weekend. It's a podcast, the Stanford Psychology podcast. And I particularly want to recommend two different episodes. Number 76, which is with Robert Cialdine. pardon me, Mr. Robert, if I mispronounce your name. It's about influence, which I think is relevant to this specific show. So I think that was really interesting. And also number 71, it's about toxicity at work. So toxic coworkers, but also how each one of us has, and it's more difficult to recognize toxic traits, so that's quite interesting, and how your enemies at work can become your friends. So that's, I think, important, because I think we can all make things better. I really love that podcast, but every single episode, but you can just scroll through it and see what episodes, what topics appeal to you. Of course, I am a daughter of 2 psychotherapists, so it's a topic close to my heart, but I think it's interesting for everyone to download that show and find the best episodes for you. So the Stanford Psychology podcast. And Phil also likes the podcast. So he's with the nurses, but he found a few minutes to look at us today. Hi, Phil. Okay, so I think this is all for us today. Thank you so much for joining. I hope it cools down a little bit and starts raining in Malaga.
Oof. It's gonna rain next week, and we badly need the rain. So yeah, I will be in Brussels soon, and probably we can have a coffee.
What I love that. I hope that the rain will come to Malaga and leave Brussels. That's my hope, because my friends, I have a lot of Spanish friends, and they keep writing to me. I cannot take it anymore. This rain is driving me nuts. And Sebastián Tarnowski also says that Tom is the master of visuals in his newsletter. So a lot of love for Tom today. Thanks for watching, Sebastián, the other Sebastián. So it's a day of Sebastián. So it was a great pleasure to finally meet you. I hope to see you in person when you get back. And thank you, everyone, for watching, and a great weekend.
Have a great weekend. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.